Welcome to Showcase of Churches, where I interview pastors and Christian leaders about their ministries. Today I want to share about Mission Connection, which is an annual event that usually comes to Portland and our area in January. And my guest today is Gilbert Gleason, and he's on the steering committee as a workshop host. And before I interview him, though, I want to make sure I tell you about their website, because on the website there's videos, there's all kinds of information, and then we will post that at the end of the program also. So to reach them, you would go to Mission, M-I-S-S-I-O-N, Connection, spelled with an X, CONNEXION.global/northwest-2024. Now, I don't know if that'll change next year if you put in 2025, but anyway, you should be able to find it. So welcome to Showcase of Churches, Gilbert. Thank you for taking time to join us.
Lucy, it's great to be with you. I've been looking forward to this, so thank you very much for inviting me to talk about Mission Connection.
Right, good. Well, I understand you've been involved with this for many years. So for those that are not familiar with it, please tell us what is Mission Connection?
Mission Connection is a regional conference held in Portland in January of every year, and its purpose is connecting God's people to mission so that increasing numbers of believers are actively serving in areas of the world's greatest gospel need and opportunity. So it's a regional conference, and it's a wonderful time to get together and find out more about missions and our place in missions.
Good. And how and when did it start?
It started in about 2001. It was a brainchild, or the vision of Bill McLeod. Bill and I have known each other for over 40 years, and God gave him this vision of starting a mission conference that's an area-wide regional. So he got together at that time, some missions pastors, began to put this together, and launched it in 2001.
Good. Well, how widespread is it now? I noticed there was a Mission Connection Northwest as well as a Southwest.
So Mission Connection started in Northwest and has been here for 23 years. I've been to all but one of them, and that's because I was on the mission field at one time. So it's regional here. They started in Southwest in Phoenix, and the Phoenix group got its vision out of watching what was going on here. It's been going on for 2 years. It happens in November. And then right now, at this Mission Connection, there'll be a group of leaders from Egypt, because they're talking about starting something like Mission Connection in the Middle East. So that'll be exciting to see if God would open the door for that to happen.
Wow, that does sound exciting. And who knows where else it could go? I mean, if we're going to Egypt,
Well, actually, right now, there's supposed to be some people from several different cities at this Mission Connection looking at the possibility of starting this in their region.
Okay. And I understand as a host, you moderate the plenary sessions. So what are plenary sessions?
So there are 5 what are called plenary speakers. Those are ones that are, speak to the whole group. And there are 4 of them, and each of them has one workshop where they can talk about either a follow-up on what their message was, or they can talk about something else that's on their heart. And I simply host that group or that workshop. It's a fairly simple thing, but it's a delight to be a part of that.
Okay, and so these main speakers, are they local or have they come from different places?
They're from all over the place, okay. Lucy. So this year we have Wendy Plow, who's from Beaverton.
Okay.
Her father-in-law is Louise Plow, and her husband is Andrew Plow. And she's a wonderful communicator and speaker. We have Sean McDowell from Southern California. He's a part of the faculty there at Biola. And Mark Middleberg is an apologist, and he comes from Denver, Colorado. We were supposed to have Robert Levy, but he had to cancel this week because his wife is quite sick and he needs to be by her side. So I mentioned we're having a group from Egypt. So one of the people from Egypt, Pastor Sammy, was here and was a plenary speaker, I think about 9 or 10 years ago. And so he stepped in, and he's going to be a plenary speaker. So I'm excited to hear him again. So they're literally from all over the world.
Well, good. I'm excited about that. I mean, I kind of like the idea of a guy from Egypt.
Yes, that's great. That's great.
Okay, now what about the workshop teachers?
So we have over 75 workshops, and the teachers are from all over the place. Many of them are from mission organizations, and they have specialties. Actually, we have 67 presenters and 75 workshops.
Wow.
And so they're all experts in their field.
Okay. Well, before we discuss more, we should let you viewers know that these sessions and workshops are free. So how do you fund them, though, if they're free, if the way you don't have to pay an entrance fee?
So there are churches that include Mission Connection in their annual budget. My church does that. So there's a group of churches that do that. An offering is taken at each of the plenary sessions, so people can give that way. Individuals donate online, and so a lot of it is donations that are given to make it so it can be a free event.
Okay, and I noticed that you must register, even though it is free.
Yes.
Probably so they get a head count.
They want to know how many are there, yes.
Right, and so you might check that. You might be in time for this year, or you might just plan for a future year.
That's right,
if you can't
that's
get
right.
there. Okay, now can anybody attend?
Yes, and it is for anyone, literally. I mean, there's some great workshops. If you're a new believer and you're just starting on your Christian journey, this is a great place to see what God is doing around the world and see how the gospel is going out. And you'll be excited to see what is happening. If you have an interest in missions and want to know where God might direct you, this is the place to go, because you can, there are 90 different agencies that are going to be there.
Wow.
And you can go around and talk to people, different agencies, and say, if I'm interested in flying an airplane, if I'm interested in the homeless, if I'm interested in the poor areas, if I'm interested in Bible translations, those are all covered in these agencies that are there. It's a great place. And then if you just have art for praying and giving, boy, this is a great place to learn about the opportunities for prayer, the need for prayer, and the opportunities to give to different ministries that are out there worldwide doing missions.
Okay, and then I think you brought a program.
I do.
And so maybe we can talk about, some of the workshops that are actually offered. And I've gone to this for a few years myself. Have an older copy. You can see it's a much improved here.
That should be in the archives.
Yeah. It's got a little bit of chocolate
Yes,
on it too.
yes.
But this one was held at Rolling Hills, and they had a map, of the church, which is a program this year.
This is a very shiny one, and it's beautiful, and it's well done. It has a map in here about where all the workshops are. And do you want to talk about the workshops now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
There's
oh, there's your map. It's
there's
a color.
our map.
Wow.
Yeah, it's colored and everything.
Yeah.
So there's different tracks of workshops. And so some of the subject, one is on coaching, another one's on disability and missions, disciple-making movement. There's one on apologetics, building bridges, understanding cultures and how you work with cultures. There's one on sexual purity. There's one on local outreach, discovering my role of being a sender, a prayer, mobilizer, one on evangelism. There's one on missionary care. There's one on short-term missions. Here's one on Southeast Asia in focus. Serving in hard places, that's a great one. Learning, the difficult places you go, and then what you need in terms of training and opportunities and what organizations go into those places. Perspectives, which is a great missions course, has a track there. So there's a number of different tracks where you can learn about what is happening in missions and educate yourself about where you can fit in some of the things that you can do.
Right. And then I understand that there's workshops, and then there's maybe a lunch break, and then more workshops.
Yes.
So you have the times, so you kind of can plan your day. But let's delve into this a little bit more. I'm curious here, like you gave some general topics, okay, like evangelism or something. Read a couple of the classes then that go along with some of those main headings or the main categories.
So here's one out of short-term missions. Three big questions. A framework for doing short-term missions with Gen Zs. 40 church planting movements. Here's one on striving for unity within the. I know the presenter of that. He's a good friend of mine. Church cross-cultural collaboration.
That would be important, because things are done differently in different countries.
Yes, here's one, sexual integrity on the mission field.
Okay.
Here's one on listening for the open door, building a local prayer culture and team. Let's see, things your missionary wants you to know. That is how to take care of missionaries and how to support them. Discovering my role. There's a track here. Here's one on telling stories about like Jesus, and so there's oral big oral presentation is a big one now.
Okay.
Stick figure discipleship. So how do you use creative ways of telling people about and explain the gospel to people?
Okay, good. Yeah, those sound really good. And like, they change each year. So depending on who can come and give the workshops. So like I have an old paper here from Rolling Hills. Oh, and that's the thing too. It may be at a different church next year. This year it's at Sunset Church.
Sunset.
And I'll give the address later too.
Yes.
Okay. But like, so this time, understanding today's youth culture was one of them. Biblical ways to pray for missionaries. Thinking biblically about global refugee crisis. That,
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unexpected pressures. Raising support. Jesus calms the storm. Teaching English as a ministry, because that's how a lot of missionaries do that. They go and teach English to foreigners, and then they build a rapport and are able to share with them.
So I was taking a perspectives class, and the teacher of it said, all of you have a skill that is needed around the world, and we all looked at each other. He said, you all know English. And just that, oftentimes it opens doors for teaching, because people around the world know they really need to learn English. Yeah.
Okay, and I don't see it on my paper, but I remember that there were usually classes like how to work with Muslims.
Yes.
Or certain cultures, like you mentioned Asia.
Asia, yeah.
Because it's going to be totally different, the type of culture and how people, their whole family structure is different.
That's right.
They tend to live more extended families and different things. And the diet, how do you want to eat?
And I remember I went to one year where they talked about ministering to Mormons and how do you do that, because you see them all around the world, and how do you work with them and learn to deal with them in a biblical way.
Okay, and then there's some for people that maybe can't leave. Like I noticed on another year, combining forces in local campus ministry.
Yes,
so there could be things right here that people can do.
In fact, there's a whole track here on local outreach.
Okay.
Design and service events for every generation. Send people to the mission field. The workplace, and that is how do you cross and use your workplace as a means for helping the poor of all generations biblically, and that's talking about local ministry among the poor.
Okay. Yeah, so that's good. So there'll be things both here locally. If you think, well, I really don't know if I want to travel, I could do this. Or if you are adventurous, I mean, I kind of enjoy traveling, so some people are.
Mission leaders say if you're not doing it at home, don't go overseas and not do it over there.
Right, exactly.
So, take advantage of local ministry. So there's a lot there. And as you go through the booths, you'll see that a number of them focus on local ministries. What are we doing here?
Right,
and how do we
and then just learn how you adapt to that culture.
Yes,
not all of us fit in every culture very well.
That's right.
Or we fit better in some cultures than other ones. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Like if, say, you don't like chili powder, well, you maybe don't want to do Mexico or
you better be
parts
careful.
of India.
Yes.
So, and if you don't like rice and noodles, you probably don't want to do the Orient.
And if you don't like curry, you better be careful where you go.
Right, exactly. And what color is the curry? If it's green curry, it's a little bit nicer. They're a little bit milder. Okay. Now, how do churches get involved? Because you said that churches help promote this, and they were involved so that people didn't have to pay an entrance fee. So how do they get involved?
So if your church wants to get involved, one of the things, and this is right immediate, is there's a promotion video on the website that is excellent. Georgine Rice narrates it, and you can go in and pull that off and show it at church this Sunday to get people to go. And then churches are, we use them for volunteers. If you have somebody involved in interest in missions, we'd love to have them on the steering committee helping us to guide it. And then just encourage your people to go, set up carpools, and let people know about it. And it's a great way to increase knowledge in churches.
Okay, and I know it functions a lot on volunteers. So how can people be a volunteer, and what kind of needs do you have for volunteers?
If you go on the website, it has a place on the website where you can put in that you can volunteer. You want to volunteer. We have over 100 volunteers for each event, and it's all kinds of things: set up, tear down, introducing the speakers in the workshops, making sure that their workshop is recorded. We serve meals, and so they can help with the meals. There's just a whole host of, I think they use them outside to help people park. It's just a variety of things. People in the prayer room, which you've been involved in the past, you can go in there and be a part of that. So there's a host of opportunities for volunteering.
Good, good. And that's a good way to serve too. If you feel like you can't go out and be a missionary, maybe you want to help other people that are preparing to do that. So anyway, okay. Well, now let's talk about the location for this year's conference.
It's Sunset Church, which is in Beaverton. It's off Cornell Boulevard. Do you have the?
I have the actual address, and it showed it as Portland, so it's probably one of those borderline things.
Yes.
So the address for Sunset Church is 14986 Northwest Cornell Road, Portland. And again, that'll be on the website, which we'll post at the end. But again, it's 14986 Northwest Cornell Road, Portland. And I looked it up because if you're on the bus, okay, if you're coming from a distance, you could come either way and get to the Sunset Transit Center. But then the bus that goes close to the church is about a 4-block walk, and that's bus 48. We'll get about 4 blocks from the church. So anyway,
it's a great venue. We're excited to be there. We've probably been there more than any place else in 23 years. They do a good job, and it's a great place to have an event, and it's worked out very well for us.
Right, and you have to have a place large enough too.
That's right. Oh yes.
Okay, now the lunch breaks, there's meals available?
There are 3 breaks. One is Friday dinner, and then Saturday lunch and Saturday dinner. Saturday lunch, or Friday dinner is hosted by or provided by Chick-fil-A. The lunch on Saturday is honey baked ham, and then for dinner they cook a lasagna.
Wow.
It's $13 for each meal, and you can come in and pay for them right there. But it's a great place. It's nice they provide that, so you don't have to bring your own meal and all of that.
Okay. All right. Now I know there's also a prayer room where people can come in either to pray if they just want to take a break and have private prayer time, or they can be prayed for.
Yes, and this kind of a conference is a pivotal time in people's lives. They come, and maybe they're just here to learn more about missions, but quite a few come because they say, "Is God calling me to missions? Where does He want me to go?" And so this prayer room is essential for going in there, and you can ask for, I'm not sure what to do, and I'm not sure where He wants me. Would you pray that God would lead me? That type of thing. So it's a pivotal ministry of the conference itself is providing prayer for people.
And there is a real variety of people that come in.
Yes.
The leaders come in, missionaries come in, pastors come in to be prayed for. So, and then people that maybe haven't known the Lord very long come in to be prayed for. So, all right. And a lot of it is direction. People want direction.
Yes.
Where do I go from here? Those type of things.
God, what do you want me to be doing with the rest of my life? Where do you want me to serve? How do you want to use me and my gifts and what you've given me?
Right. But that doesn't mean they can't have prayer for their family.
That's right.
Or
That's
something.
right.
Especially a lot of people have had tragic things happen when they're working, on a mission field, and maybe they just want prayer for the protection of their family or different things, or funds. We get in the prayer room also things from, because I usually go in and talk to the mission vendors, and we need boats, or we need pilots. Or
yes.
we need,
pray for pilots. Huh? Yes.
So stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing I want to bring up. There are vendors, which are usually mission groups, and they have displays, sometimes handouts, and information about their ministry. So can you tell us about the booths?
This is one of my favorite parts of Mission Connection, because I go from booth to booth and talk to the people there and learn what they're doing and what their ministry is. And it's amazing how creative these booths are. So the first one here, we have them listed in the first one here, Seed Player. David Lind is the founder of that. And they have these little boxes that have the scripture in them. They're solar powered. So wherever around the world the sun shines, they can listen to the Bible. And so they give these out, and you can take it to the Mongolia and listen to the scripture there. And it's for people. Some people are illiterate. They don't have, or some don't have the scripture in their language. They don't have access to the scripture. And these little seed players. So that's seen over and over and over again. Here's Pure Life Alliance, which talks about sexual purity. Here's Corbin University, because they're strong in missions. Here's Frontiers, which is a mission group that goes way back into the back countries. Here's Pioneer Bible Translator, which is, when I went to Papua last year, Pioneers was all over the place in terms of their work.
Yeah, and Frontier Mission provided me with some gals to read stories to Native Americans one year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I had a teepee out at a powwow, and they sent it to
That's
the girls.
Great.
Yeah.
Here's Johnny and Friends. Johnny Erickson. She was one of our speakers a couple years ago.
Right.
She was a
I remember that. Yeah.
favorite of mine. But here's her organization that's represented there. There's just, and you can go on Cape and Ray Bible colleges there. So you can go from booth to booth, and you can start to get a sense of what God is doing around the world. That's what I like. I just like to see what he's doing around the world. And then if you have an interest in missions, you say, okay, God, what are my specialties? What are my giftedness? And you can go to those booths and you can say, okay, here's who I am. Is there some place that you could use me?
Good. And they have treats sometimes too. I have to admit, I've been guilty, like if they have some kind of Middle Eastern candy I like, or something.
And we go grazing through that's one of my favorite times, is just going to the booths and just going from booth to booth. I like to encourage missionaries. I like to hear their stories, and I like to see what God is doing and using them around the world.
Yeah, so we hope you'll all be able to come to that. And now, is Mission Connection under some umbrella of some other organization?
So the handout is Mission Connection, but Mission Works is who's they're a part of, and it's a family of mission groups that work together to promote missions. And so Mission Works, about Mission Connection is their major event every year.
Okay, well, we probably just have 3 or 4 minutes left.
Okay.
So do you have a most memorable Mission Connection?
Well, my most memorable was 2006 because of my own connections and my family. In 2006, they celebrated this 50th anniversary of the killing of the 5 missionaries in Ecuador. And so at that event, they had Bert and Colleen Elliott. Bert's the older brother of Jim Elliott. They had Steve McCulley was there, the son of Ed McCulley. Steve Saint was there, the son of Nate Saint. And then they had brought Min Kai, who was one of the killers. And you had that group, 3 of the family members, and we had that group over at our house for dinner the next day. And it was in the living room of the Elliott family house.
Wow.
And I thought that 50 years earlier, the tears shed in that living room over the loss of those men, and then 50 years within the week later, you had the family members of 3 of those and one of the killers, and the joy and the forgiveness and the delight and just seeing God at work and what he's done in those years. That was my favorite one, I have to admit.
That sounds like it. Well, that's good. This has been very helpful, and I'm hoping our viewers will be able to attend a Mission Connection this year or in the future. So if you think you might want to be a volunteer, or your church might want to cooperate, in fundraising or being part of it, or if you just want to kind of dip your toe in and see if this is where you might to take a swim, then that would be a good place to sing. And like I say, don't forget to check out the website. There's some video on there.
Yes.
So anyway, we will show that again on the...
And if you want to come, be sure you register so we can get you in there
and they'll give you a little name tag thing. and then you
Yes.
get in the door. So, and then you can come and see me in the prayer room if you want.
Good,
Okay.
good,
All right.
excellent.
Thank you, Gilbert. Thanks for coming.
Thank you very much, Lucy. It's been delightful to be with you.